Vice-Chancellor, fellow council members and staff of the university, diplomats, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. To members of a university, a ceremony for the presentation of awards to its graduates is an important and happy occasion. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to be with us today. To diplomats and graduates, I offer congratulations and best wishes. The university's mission commits it to achieving international excellence in education and research. It is also committed to work through partnerships for regional, national and global enrichment. The university's record of achievement, particularly in research, is outstanding. In 1998, the research funding base increased by 12% to a total of about $30 million. The university ranked 9th out of 36 public universities in Australia in terms of its research funding. The Australian Research Council is one of the peak grant bodies in Australia, and in 1998 the university had the highest success rate of all the Australian universities in the competitive bidding for research grants. The university has 13 research centres and institutes, over 50 research programs of international repute, and nearly 900 research masters and Doctor of Philosophy candidates. It is an exceptional performance across all faculties and reflects the quality of the research being conducted by university staff. More generally, these achievements are significant because good research and research outcomes feed into the content of the courses. Graduates of the University of Newcastle can therefore be confident that the curriculum that they have studied reflects cutting-edge technologies. Education today is about the acquisition of lifelong learning skills. So I suppose you could say today is a beginning, not an end. I believe that the awards to be presented to our diplomats and graduates today will qualify them to make significant contributions in the local, national, and in the case of some, international community. I take this opportunity to remind those receiving their testaments today that as diplomats and graduates of the university, you automatically become members of convocation. You thus join more than 45,000 other graduates and have an opportunity through elected representatives to become involved in the governance and the developments at the university. I now call on the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Commerce to present graduates from that faculty.
Chancellor, I present to you candidates who have satisfied the requirements of the award of Diploma of Computing Studies. Murray Cake. Darren Lindsay. Thuy Tran. Christian Vidal. Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the degree of Bachelor of Business, Barnaby Allen. Scott Bailey. Karen Bennett. Simon Bishop. Trent Bryon. Jane Butler. Leighton Cantrill. Susan Carruthers. Julie Catto. Norman Chia. Alan Chin. Laurie Lee D'Angelo. Yasmin Dale. Georgina Daly. Scott Davies. Kristen Dial. Christy Disher. Praveen Dulub. Christopher Ether. Cherie Farmy. Teresa Fitzhenry. Robert Fleming. Amanda Foster. Stella Gasparovich. Joel Goodsir. Mark Gordon. Chad Griffith. Matthew Hare. Stephen Hannon. Bronwyn Hanson. Michael Harris. Renee Hawkins. Francis Healy. Gabrielle Hegarty. Richard Hines. Tracy Heemers. Lauren Herring. Fiona Hocking. Amanda Hodgson. Antonia Hook. Craig Hawley. Cameron Hughes. Vaughan Jenner. Simon Johnson. Susan Johnson. Anthony Johnston. Cassandra Johnston. Pamela Jolly. Nathan Kedwell. Imran Khamis. Lisa Killick. James Lawrence. Thomas Lee. Matthew Levy. Janine Liddell. Camilla Lim. Xiong Lin. Michelle Ling. Carolyn Lewis. Elaine Ma. Bruce McLeod. David Madden. Melissa Ma. Marcus Mariani. Raymond Martin. Wayne Mathers. Peter McCarthy. Jacqueline McDonald. Kelly McGrath. Adam McKay. Eve McLaren. Christy McShane. Belinda Milkovich. Emma Mingay. Lisa Mingay. Rachel Monk. Esther Mosley. Byron Munson. Katrina Nielsen. Jonathan Novoselic. Kim Owler. Matthew Paff. James Parker. Scott Parsons. Joanne Pesh. Sarah Jane Perry. Samantha Phillips. Andrew Price. Gan Kwong. Kylie Robinson. Michael Robinson. Anthony Ryan. Patrick Ryan. Scott Sarich. Tamara Sewell. Justin Smith. Mark Sue. Michelle Spinner. Luke Stapleton. Lisa Stewart. Antonia Stillo. Ching Ko Sum. Amanda Swift. Kane Thomas. Sharon Tierney. Peter Vaughan. Tracy Wilson. Louisa Ragg. Natasha Young. Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the degree of Bachelor of Commerce, Leanne Allen. David Archer. Ian Arnold. Matthew Baker. Hayley Barling. Thomas Bartlett. Mark Bates. Jason Becker. Rachel Becklar. Tracy Bennett. Iraj Borghand. Mark Bauer. Alison Bradbury. Melanie Brown. Andrew Burgess. Michelle Carr. David Katalowski. Lisa Chan. Clinton Christoph. Jesse Chuan. Cherie Coomer. Renee Courtney. Scott Davis. Lance Dorber. Ryan Densby. Kim Dimmick. Michelle Dixon. Ermelinda dos Santos. Brooke Dyson. Scott Eden. Lakmini Ederisaria. Derek Ube. Jennifer Evans. Cindy Fong. Xia Fu. Lisa Gray. Leanne Guy. Mark Harrison. Jennifer Harvey. Elizabeth Hayden. Natasha Henry. Paul Horn. Michelle Howard. Bernard Howes. Irina Ivanovic. Claire Jessen. Andrew Johnson. Richard Lambert. Anthony Lane. Kelly Latter. Nigel Lau. Lawrence Wong. Deben Lee. Michelle Linton. Julianne Llewellyn. Brett Lloyd. Wendy Love. Shane Lynch. Justin Markey. Linda Matkovich. Peter McCarthy. Lizette McDermott. Kylie McDonald. Sally McKay. Brett McKiernan. Brendan McNaughton. Andrew Miller. Brenton Miller. Alison Minotti. Karen Mitchell. Paul Montgomery. David Mulvaney. Jacqueline Murphy. Blythe Niscott. Alana Norhady. Katie O'Leary. Susan Ooms. Timothy Orr. Alison Payne. Damien Passmore. Pinku Patel. Emily Pitt. Gregory Politis. Denise Polatos. David Punter. Christopher Reinberger. Sam Roberts. Nathan Robinson. Alexander Rolfe. Kevin Rowland. Philip Saunders. Kevin Senjirjian. Eleanor Simpson. Nicholas Singer. Victor Siu. Scott Slater. Fernando Sorokovsky. Craig Suri. Matthew Spruce. Benjamin Stevenson. Andrew Sutton. Andrew Tarn. Tan Kok Hian. Shi Ting. Jane Tremble. Angela Tzlepis. Maria Undery. Kupusami Vignesh. Colin Wallace. Shannon Ward. Adrian Warhope. Dale Wennon. Michelle Wathen. Courtney Whitaker. Adrian Willems. Mark Williams. Russell Willings. Craig Wilson. Charles Kar Chi Wong. Kambiz Yandar Parist. Chancellor, I present to you graduates for the award of the combined degrees of Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Arts. These graduates have studied for both awards simultaneously. Claire Moroney. Fiona Stanmore. Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the degree of Bachelor of Commerce with Honours, Class 2, Division 1, Karen Close. Martine Hardy. Chancellor, I present to you a graduate of the degree of Bachelor of Commerce with Honours Class 1, Zoran Namovsky. Chancellor, I present to you a graduate of the degree of Bachelor of Law and Administration, Christina Maloney. Chancellor, I present to you a candidate who has satisfied the requirements for the award of Graduate Certificate in Business Administration, Peter Hogg. Chancellor, I present to you a candidate who has satisfied the requirements for the award of Graduate Certificate in Marketing, Melissa Ovenden. Chancellor, I present to you candidates who have satisfied the requirements for the award of Graduate Diploma in Business Administration, Ediyapon Apibal Kurulkit. Rahul Baliga. Vishal Gupta. Earl Rennie. C.B. Varghese. Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the degree of Master of Business Administration, Christopher Allenson. Michelle Ashton. Shashanth Bambor. Annette Brennan. Bilal Books. John Buxton. Ben Carson. David Chesterfield. Patricia Duggan. Indra Fajar. Maxwell Garner. David Gilroy. Christine Goldsmith. Sajahi Hasum Tanara. Jawahal Shanmugam. Sita Kahagali. Ravi Kausik. Julian Liddy Meany. James Mee. Tony O'Donoghue. Kumaran Pakisarami. Vijay Reddy. James Richardson. Kamaljit Sandhu. T. Sanjay. York Sim. Shantanu Tandon. Pauline Wallace. Graham Wilson. Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the Master of Business Administration with merit. Philip Carlton. Catherine McCosker. Rodney Naylor. Jason Poyle. Patricia Santos. Scott Walcombe. Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the degree of Master of Human Resource Management and Industrial Relations. Jacqueline Duran. Michael Grogan. Joanne Roach. Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the degree of Master of Marketing. Nofawat Chamun. Andy Ng. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of diplomats and graduates from the Faculty of Economics and Commerce.
I call on the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Research to present a research higher degree graduate.
Chancellor, the degree of Doctor of Philosophy is awarded to a graduate who has successfully completed a prescribed program of study, principally of research. A thesis embodying the outcomes of the research is the principal basis of examination. The degree is only awarded if the thesis makes a significant and an original contribution to knowledge or to our understanding of the field of knowledge with which it is concerned. Today, the University is proud to honour a Doctor of Philosophy graduate who has satisfied these rigorous criteria for the award of the degree. Chancellor, I present to you John Lowry, Bachelor of Commerce of this University, and Dr. Lowry's thesis is entitled An Exploratory Study of the Relevance of Management Accounting in Service Industries. Chancellor, Dr. Lowry. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of a research higher degree graduate.
We will now have a musical interlude presented by the Faculty of Music's Clarinet Quartet. They will play Carnival of Venice.
Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite Dr. Dennis Sinclair to deliver the occasional address. Dr. Sinclair is a conjoint professor of the Faculty of Economics and Commerce. He is also the Managing Director of Sinclair Associates Proprietary Limited, a Sydney-based management consultancy firm whose client list includes many of Australia's largest organisations. Dr. Sinclair is a statistician by training and he specialises in database decision-making. Dr. Sinclair's association with the university dates back to 1987, when as a member of the Department of Statistics, he was the founding director of Newstat Statistical and Quality Consultants, a division of TUNRA. Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Sinclair.
Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Council members, staff of the University, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honour to be with you today. I'd like to thank the University very much for inviting me. Today is a happy and proud day for all of you in the audience. Congratulations on your achievement. Your university years will provide you with many warm memories and lasting friendships in the years to come. While graduation marks the end of a significant and hopefully enjoyable and fulfilling stage of your lives, it also signals the beginning of the next stage. As you leave the relatively cloistered life of academia, what an exciting and stimulating world it is that you're entering. I'm continually impressed by the younger generation of today, of which you represent a fine example. The relaxed way in which a new challenge is undertaken, the ease with which outcomes are accomplished, the coolness under pressure. Maybe it's got something to do with those computer games that I can never get the hang of. Nevertheless, I for one approach the future with great optimism, knowing that it is in capable hands. One thing I can assure you of, however, is that the future will contain many challenges. You'll likely have many career changes in the years ahead. Life is a gamble, and there will be times where you'll have to take a risk. Being a statistician, I take a more than passing interest in gambling. I know that as human beings, we tend not to be very good at statistical thinking and at weighing up the odds for our decisions. One interesting fact is that we tend to overemphasise the downside of a decision. From my experience, the most apparently risky career decisions seem to pay off. So be bold in your career choices. You've already made and followed through on the best decision you could have made for your future, to further your formal education. A few years ago, I saw Wally Lewis, after a rugby league test match against New Zealand, utter the ultimate sporting cliche: football was the winner tonight. It didn't take Steve Waugh long as Australian cricket captain to declare after an exciting test match in the West Indies recently, cricket was the winner today. Well, I'll add my own 20 cents worth to declare education is the winner today. I see it in all the happy faces before me. Through your hard work in reaching this day, you are securing your future. But the reality is, you're just beginning your education. The rate of change in our world is such that if you ever stop learning, you fall by the wayside. The skills you have developed at the University of Newcastle will enable you to be lifelong learners. And you'll need to be. But who would want it any other way? One thing I've picked up from education is that the more you know, the more you realise you don't know. Ignorance may be bliss, but once you get on the treadmill of education, you don't want to get off. University lecturers cringe when people talk about the real world out there. I'll never forget the look of terror on a certain professor's face when I told him that I was leaving the university to set up my own company. However, let's just call it the other world outside the confines of this place. Well, that world can be a little intimidating. As new graduates in a working environment, many of you in your first real full-time job, I would recommend that you be a sponge. Soak up as much knowledge as you can, as quickly as you can. The thirst for knowledge is a powerful thing. I recall a training course I was presenting in Mount Isa a few years ago, in which a middle-aged plant operator was taking copious notes and hanging on my every word. A rare occurrence, believe me. His thirst for knowledge was almost palpable. It turned out that he'd had a tough upbringing and been the leader of a bikie gang in his youth. He'd finally settled down in Mount Isa and discovered, rather later than most of you, the joy of learning. It's in all of us and it needs to be nurtured. As you start life in the corporate world, find a mentor to help guide you and speed up your learning. Repay them by being a mentor yourself further down the track. Human interaction is by far the most effective form of knowledge transfer. In 1993, the world's preeminent management guru, Peter Drucker, said, "Knowledge is the only meaningful resource today." We live in the age of knowledge, where the greatest challenge to organisations is how to manage knowledge. Benjamin Franklin had it right when he said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." With the exciting changes being driven by the information technology revolution, it's easy for organisations to get caught up in the euphoria, which for many large organisations revolves around dramatically reduced costs and increased efficiency, not mentioning any financial institutions or telecommunications companies in particular. And they tend to forget about the basics. The customer can get forgotten. Our organisation is going to need your help in the future. Please, as you start out in the corporate world, insist on spending time with your customers. Put yourself in their shoes. I guarantee it will make a difference to the way you do your job and to the long-term success of your company. I can speak from personal experience that once a university lecturer realises that those students sitting in front of him or her are his or her customers, the approach to the job changes. The students receive a better product and the lecturer gets greater job satisfaction, not to mention better student ratings. This is a win-win situation which works equally well in the corporate world. Remember also that within your organisation you will have internal customers and you need to work hard to build relationships with them and understand their needs firsthand. Harvard professor Robert Reich observed that worldwide competition continues to compress profits on anything that is uniform, routine and standard. That is, many products are quickly becoming commodities. To remain at the forefront in value-adding industries, we need intelligence, speed, agility, imagination and responsiveness. All intangibles which add up to one thing: innovation. The key to our future is innovation. Innovation and technical advancement explain why the USA, for example, gets more than half of its economic growth from industries that barely existed a decade ago. Dare to be different. Innovation demands it. If we only follow, we'll always be behind. The new knowledge economy poses a problem for you newly created accountants out there. Much of the value in companies today is in human capital, knowledge inside people's heads, which does not appear on the traditional balance sheet. Innovation is required to value our organisations. Despite all the advances in technology, it's never been truer than today that people are an organisation's greatest resource. Thus, in running any successful organisation into the next millennium, people issues such as values, trust, honesty and openness are of critical importance. In today's organisations, we are taught to measure the important indicators. And indeed, we're very proficient at measuring sales, cost, profits, return on capital. However, as Albert Einstein once observed, what is measured is not always important, and what is important cannot always be measured. Peter Drucker has said, knowledge is information that changes something or somebody, either by becoming grounds for action or by making an individual or an institution capable of different or more effective action. Clearly, the key is action. In the era of knowledge, you must make your knowledge work for you. Don't be one of life's armchair critics. Be a player, accept the challenge, and use your knowledge to innovate and improve. To use the good old Australian vernacular, don't be afraid to have a go. On that point, let me leave you with my favourite quotation from US President Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, because there is not effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumphs of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Congratulations again on your achievement today, and good luck in the many careers ahead of you.
Dr. Sinclair, thank you very much for that inspiring address. It's a tough world out there, but it's exciting, and you've given many pointers on how to succeed. Thank you very much indeed. I now have great pleasure in inviting Ms. Bronwyn Hanson to speak on behalf of the graduates.
Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, members of the University Council and staff of the University, fellow graduates, ladies and gentlemen. I have been asked here to speak today on behalf of my fellow graduates to give thanks to all those who have guided and supported us throughout our time here at the University of Newcastle. Firstly, I wish to thank the academic staff for their enthusiasm and guidance. To the visible support staff, such as the research material room assistants and the faculty and departmental secretaries who have had to deal with some of our bizarre inquiries over the years, thank you for your patience. To all the support staff who work behind the scenes, thank you. To our families and friends who have offered continued support throughout the rollercoaster ride of university life, whether it be in the form of a phone call of encouragement in those ever so short study breaks, or to being part of a supposedly random sample of the population filling out our marketing research surveys for assessment tasks. We, the graduates, thank you. But a special thanks needs to go to my fellow graduates, as university life is made up of so much more than completing the assessment tasks on time and sitting for the final exams. It is also about the friendships made and the great times we have had and shared, be they at O-balls, previous graduation balls, beach parties, housewarmings for those of us who have lived out of home while at university, nights out in town, or just generally socialising with our fellow students. The experiences shared with these friends throughout my time at the University of Newcastle have been unforgettable, and I will treasure these memories of our time at university, as I'm sure you all will. When all's said and done, uni life has quite a few positives going for it, apart from those all-night cram sessions at group members' houses, trying to complete that report before the next day's tutorial. In retrospect, even though at the time we complained as to how little sleep we were getting and how much more work we had to finish, these times are certainly some of the most memorable of university life. On being asked to address this ceremony as the graduate speaker, I asked myself what I could talk about after the thank yous. I needed a theme that would be of interest to those in attendance and something that all my fellow graduates had come into contact with at some point during their university life. I give you the university crest and motto, which all graduates have had countless sightings of throughout their courses, yet I wonder how many know its significance. After spending an afternoon at the archive section of the Ock Community Library, I read a file with the correspondence dating back to the 29th of June 1964, relating to Professor Ockmuty seeking a grant of arms from the College of Arms, England. Such a crest could only be granted after the University of Newcastle became autonomous on the 1st of January 1965. From reading the correspondence in this file, it was clear that right from the beginning, Professor Ockmuty and the councillors had an idea and a vision that this new university was going to be different from the three existing in New South Wales at the time. The university did not want to follow the three other existing universities and include the Cross of St George in its crest. It wanted a crest that was original and different. In a letter dated the 5th of January 1965, Professor Ockmuty wrote to advise the College of Arms that, I quote, "Newcastle was originally discovered by Lieutenant Shortland in 1797, and the site on which the new University of Newcastle is to be built is on an area which is today called Shortland. Accordingly, it is of some consequence that the crest of the Shortland family is quite unusual and could be adapted as the crest of the new university. The seahorse, in every respect, is so unusual, a mythical animal, and so closely associated with Lieutenant Shortland's family that all are agreed that it would provide an excellent emblem." The College of Arms wrote back advising that, I quote, "The question of the design for the arms will need a little more consideration. I fear it will not suffice if we try to limit the design to a seahorse only, and such an emblem, simpliciter, has been used before, and we would have to add sufficient points of difference to differentiate the new arms from any that may have gone before." The College of Arms suggested the possibility of using a ship, which was too nautical, a lighthouse, already too frequently used by neighbouring schools, or perhaps a castle, as to play on the title of the university. The suggestion of a seahorse rampant with the Southern Cross in the top left-hand corner of the shield was then put forward to the College of Arms and accepted as it provided sufficient distinction. After receiving a specimen painting of the arms of the University of Newcastle, Professor Ockmuty wrote back to the College of Arms advising that it had been greatly admired by everyone who had seen it, and I quote, "I think it is going to be quite striking in appearance, and from the point of view of Australian universities, quite original." Nonetheless, the university could not agree upon the question of a suitable motto. In a letter dated the 22nd of June 1965, Professor Ockmuty wrote, "We have firmly decided that there is going to be no motto. It was quite impossible to reach any form of agreement. However, not more than 2 months later, there was a further letter sent to the College of Arms stating that the Council of the University of Newcastle had approved the adoption of the motto, 'I look ahead.' This motto was perfectly natural, having regard to the ambition of a university and the appearance of a seahorse on the shield. And so is the legacy of the crest of the University of Newcastle. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate those graduating today. You should be proud of what you have achieved in balancing your academic and social lives to survive the university experience. And you can be proud to be graduating from the University of Newcastle, the new university that was willing to be original and challenge the status quo. For whatever comes next in our lives, look ahead with all the ambition and pride that those founding members of the Council of the new University of Newcastle bestowed upon us with our crest and motto. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Hanson, for that excellent speech. I like the research. We do look ahead, and you now, all of you, join an illustrious organisation, which I hope you'll stay in touch with for the rest of your lives. I now declare this ceremony closed. May I invite all present to join us for a cold drink in the marquee adjoining the Great Hall. I hope the weather's improved, otherwise it might be a very cold drink. The University Union also invites you to make your way afterwards to the Shortland Union building where Devonshire tea will be served. You will also be able to order photographs, have your testamenters framed and view a range of university memorabilia for sale. This is the only organisation for which I conduct a sales talk, ladies and gentlemen.